Hello, choir students. We're going to take a look at common music symbols. These are things that you'd see normally in our scores that we look at, so in the songs that we're working on. These are different symbols that you'll see throughout songs. Some of them are going to be familiar, some of them might look new, but just kind of bear with me as I talk through them so that you have an idea of what these all are. We're going to start with a key signature. So at the very beginning of every song, this tells the singer, the musician, the director, what key the song is in. So it means the number of sharps or flats that we would need to sing or play. So it's a combination of sharps and flats. It should really say or. They can't happen at the same time. And it happens after the clef, so treble clef or bass clef. And it tells us the key of the composition. So in this case, the key of this song would be the key of A, because there are 3 sharps. When you look at sharps, specifically you want to look to see where the middle of the sharp lies. So in this case, this top sharp here is on the note F. So we have every good boy does fine. That top line is F, and that runs right through the middle of that sharp. The middle sharp is going to be C sharp because it sits on the 3rd space, F, A, C, and there's no line through the center of that note. The last sharp is all the way up here above the staff, so we know that the top line, every good boy does fine, is F. One note higher in the alphabet is G, so this is G sharp, that last sharp up on top. So sharps and flats look a little bit different. Sharps kind of look like the pound symbol on your phone, and those are symbols that raise a note by half a step, so they make them higher in pitch. A flat lowers a note by half a step and makes them lower in pitch. In both of these slides, the keys are down the middle. So like this one flat would be the key of F. 2 flats is the key of B flat. So you have a flat on B flat and on E flat. So these are the keys in the middle. The flats you would read the same way as you do sharps. You want to look to see if the line goes through the center of the circle of the flat, looks like a little B, or if it sits on a space. Most of us have seen a repeat sign. Remember that you have to have 2 of them, and you always go back to wherever the repeat sign is, that first repeat sign. A first ending often happens with a repeat. So you sing through this first ending, you go back to the other repeat sign, and then you sing through the music again, and then typically we'd go to the second ending. So a first ending is always going to be this little box with a 1 inside of it. First ending. Second ending means that after you've repeated the music, you skip the first ending and go directly to the second ending. So in this case, we would start here, you'd sing through this line to the first ending, to the repeat sign, go back to the beginning, you'd sing through it again, and rather than singing these 2 notes here, you'd skip this part and go over to the second ending. The time signature, these can be tricky. The time signature is also at the beginning of every song, and it tells us how many beats there are in a measure and what kind of note equals 1 beat. So up on top here we have the 2 numbers differentiated. The top number is the number of beats in a measure. The bottom number is which beat is equal to 1. So in this case of the example 3/4, there's 3 beats in a measure. If you think of the bottom number as a fraction, turn it into 1/4, or the same as a quarter, which means a quarter note would get a beat. So if a 2 were on the bottom, it would mean a half note would get a beat, or equal 1 beat. But really what you need to know is that the top number tells us how many beats there are, and the bottom number tells us which note equals 1. We've talked about these before. This is the bracket and the brace. The bracket always shows you where the voice parts are, and that's the solid black line right here. The brace is going to be the wavy line where the instrumental or the piano parts are. Voice parts in middle school, we typically talk about in 6th grade part 1 and part 2, which would be the 2 just up on top, or soprano and alto. 7th and 8th graders, you guys are used to 3 parts, so we have sopranos are up on top, or part 1, altos in the middle, part 2, and baritone on the bottom. So this would be the high female voice, mid or low female voice, and then in middle school, all of the guys in 7th and 8th grade sing the baritone part. DC al coda is a fancy Italian way of singing. Play to the beginning and then go back to the coda. So if you have a song that says DC al coda, you would sing through the beginning all the way to here. Then you would go back to the beginning. You'd sing to the double bar line. You'd go back to the beginning, sing it again, but this time when you get to the coda symbol or this bullseye, you'd skip to the end and you'd play these last two measures rather than this one in the middle. So it does a good job of explaining that, following the diagram that the picture gives you, but that is a DC L coda. DS L coda, the S means sign, or del segno in Italian. So this is the sign or the symbol. So again, if you follow kind of the directions that this picture is laid out for you, you're going to play all the way through to the coda. You're going to play to the double bar. You're going to go back to the sign, not the beginning, and you're going to play through until you get to the bullseye or the target, and then you skip to the end and you play those last two measures. So those are going to be our symbols.